What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right, so another game that came on today in the first day of 2025 NBA playoff action was a 3-6 matchup, third seed versus sixth seed between the New York Knicks and the Detroit Pistons. The Knicks this year have been good. You can make no mistake about it. They've been a good team. However, they've lacked the toughness and tenacity and the physicality and the resiliency that we saw of the Knicks from last year. They're good, but they're different. Much of what I just said that embodied last year Knicks embodies the Detroit Pistons of this year. A young, scrappy team led by one of the most improved players and a guy that should have been mentioned more in the MVP conversation, Cade Cunningham. They're a team that I think, if this nucleus stays healthy and together, they could be one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference and perhaps in the league in the upcoming years to go. And it looked like they were going to make a big statement. The Detroit Pistons, heading into the fourth quarter, had an 8-point lead. But somewhere, the Knicks team that looked nothing like the scrappy, feisty, defensive-oriented team of last year came alive. And the ghost of Knicks' pass almost didn't fuck up, did I? And the ghost of Knicks' pass visited the locker room or something, because they turned it on and they went on an unbelievable, emphatic 21-0 run to steal game one, which game one looked like the Pistons were going to get a leg up on this series. But ultimately, the Knicks won this first game of this best of 7 first round series, 123-112. And with that, they take a 1-0 lead in this best of 7 series. Now, of course, this series is far from being over. But they were led by Jalen Brunson, who had 34 points in this matchup, 12 of 27 from the floor, 2 of 5 from three-point range, 8 of 10 from the line. He also had 8 assists. Do you guys know that as a New York Knick, Jalen Brunson is averaging in the playoffs now something like 30.5 points per game? 30.5 points per game as a Knick in the postseason. He has been unbelievable in his Knick career. And remember, this is a guy Luka Doncic once had as a teammate when they were yelling he needed help. Just wanted to point that out. Karl Anthony Towns, in 39 minutes of play, had 23 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists, 4 steals, and 2 blocks, 10 of 14 shooting, 1 of 3 from downtown. And, he had a really good game. Josh Hart, 13 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, 6 of 10 from the floor. OG Anunoby, the former Raptor, now, of course, a Knick. I believe he was in that trade that sent R.J. Barrett to the Raptors. 23 points, 7 rebounds, 5 steals, 2 blocks for OG Anunoby. And Carl Payne had 14 points in just 14 minutes for the New York Knicks as well. For the Pistons, they were led by Tobias Harris, who had 25 points on 8 of 13 shooting, 4 of 5 from three-point range, 5 of 5 at the line, 6 rebounds. Cade Cunningham, who's been basically their best player this year, 21 points, but only shot 8 of 21 from the floor, 1 of 4 from the three-point range, had 12 assists, but he committed 6 turnovers. And we'll talk about that turnovers in a little while. Malik Beasley, former Buck, former Heat, I believe, as well. He had 20 points in this game, but 7 of 16 from the floor, but 6 of 12 from three-point range. And Tim Hardaway Jr., 19 points, 7 of 13, and 3 of 8 from three-point range. The big difference in this game down the stretch, man, were turnovers. I believe the New York Knicks forced 21 Detroit Pistons turnovers, and the thing about the Pistons is they were known, and their team known for their defense and feistiness. They're trying to be perhaps a third reiteration of one of the, tough, tenacious, Pistons teams that we think of. We think of when the Pistons, we think of the bad boy Pistons of the late 80s, early 90s, and we think of those tough, hard-nosed Pistons teams of the mid 2000s that won a championship in 2004, went to the finals in 2005, won a league high 64 games in 2006, I believe it was. I think they're motivated to be one of the top, a successor to those teams. But this team is still young. I think they give up something like 40-something points in the fourth quarter. And look, I'm going to say this too. You could also make an argument that some of the calls down the stretch were very favorable for the Knicks, right? I'm be honest with you. I'm gonna keep it 100. The NBA is still a business. I'm not saying that the game was rigged. It's not. The Knicks earned this victory, but look, young teams, they're not gonna get the benefit of calls for the most part, man. It's almost like the NBA has a bit of a pecking order, or more of a what's the word I'm looking for? It's a pecking order and also a merit thing, I guess I want to say. Like, basically, the Pistons will have their day. The Pistons are going to have their day, hopefully, but the NBA know it's struggling with ratings, and the NBA remembers the debacles of the 2005 finals with you had two small market teams competing, and it was a great series if you really like basketball, but it was a ratings disaster. Nobody watched except for people like me who like defensive slug-out series and just like to watch good basketball, but it didn't have any stars, really. No big superstars in those finals. So the NBA is very is very aware of those things. And so, yeah, a little bit of that might have played a factor in some of those calls because, they would much rather have large market teams make deep playoff runs. But, that's just an excuse if you keep talking like that. You know what I'm saying? The Pistons had the game in the bag. You know what I'm saying? The Pistons had the game in the bag, and they blew it. That's the only way you can really look at it, man. So the Pistons got to regroup and just do what they did, or at least try. I make it like it's so simple, but just try to replicate what you did in the first game, but do it for 4 quarters instead of just 3 quarters. If you're the Knicks, hey, man, on paper, you guys are the better squad. Go out there and prove it. Prove it to the masses. Prove it to us. Make us believe that you guys can be a championship caliber team, because we honestly don't believe it. We think the Knicks most of us think the Knicks are pretenders. I don't think the Knicks have really had a championship level team, honestly, since 1994. But anyway, that's all I got to say about it. Tell me what you guys think.